Okay, I just had to make this video real quick because Facebook, or Fascist Book, keeps censoring and taking down all the good, truthful, honest articles that I post on Facebook. So I'm going to go ahead and read this post that was going viral on Facebook, and y'all got to get this video going viral. I'm going to read the post. Viral Facebook post article on school shootings and the Second Amendment. They cannot get rid of the Second Amendment all at once, so they are chipping away at it bit by bit. As the greatest and best supporter of Donald J. Trump, I must say, now that our president has facilitated placing the Second Amendment under the discretion of mental health, all it will take is a bunch of liberal, progressive, Democrat, court-appointed psychologists to disarm all Republicans and conservatives by deeming them to be mentally incompetent for whatever reasons they may choose and by way of whatever political views motivate them. The Second Amendment has now become the victim of politics. If they really wanted to address mental health, they would focus on cleaning up our nation and, as President Donald J. Trump urged, place value on every human life and show respect and decency for every human life. They can only do that by going after Hollywood, television producers, music video producers, and the gaming industry, all of whom constantly disparage human life. It is not by going after our Second Amendment and right to bear arms of any and all sorts. Guns do not kill people. People kill people. Why? Just one day after the reported shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, Broward County, wherein 17 students were reportedly massacred and numerous others seriously injured, Governor Rick Scott was quoted as saying, "We are going to have a real conversation about this issue," referring to gun control and violence-related issues, particularly as such pertains to the numerous alleged public shootings that have taken place in Florida and in other states over the past several years. President Donald J. Trump got about as close to having a real conversation concerning this matter as one can have when he said, "We are going to address issues of mental health." Do you really want to have a real conversation about this matter, Governor Rick Scott, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and President Donald J. Trump? Here it is. 20-some years ago, I walked into an apartment with my ex-girlfriend who was visiting some friends. When we walked into their apartment, what did I see? I saw the couple, who were in their late teens or early 20s, sitting upon their couch playing a video game on a huge 6x6 television screen with the sounds of rapid gunfire and blood splatting onto the screen. Their 6 to 10 months of age baby was propped up in a cradle on the floor directly in front of the television screen, gazing aimlessly up into the mayhem, chaos, violence, gunfire, and bloodshed. I can imagine that this most likely continued for years into that child's early development and into his teen years, whereby he must have become a proficient killer on the big screen as well. I can't help but wonder if that was the same child that did the alleged school shooting massacre at Sandy Hook, Connecticut. He, like many other infants and small children throughout our deteriorating nation, certainly had been properly, let me pull this up to the top here real quick. He, like many other infants and small children throughout our deteriorating nation, certainly had been properly conditioned, trained, and programmed to do such through the numerous immoral, depraved, and violent Hollywood movies, television programs, cartoons, music videos, and video games, so-called entertainment, which is often rated R, restricted to minors, yet it is also readily available to our children and youth, whether through irresponsible parents, backdoor movie theater access pranks, easily accessible television channels, internet access, and or peers. And there is not a person, psychologist or otherwise, who can dispute the fact that children are malleable, impressionable, easily influenced, and moldable. Children are taught. Children learn. Just look at what kinds of immoral, indecent, perverted, and violent, influential garbage Hollywood movies, television programmers, music video producers, and video game producers are influencing and teaching our children with. Guns do not kill people. People kill people. So the question is, rather the real questions for the real conversation are, number one, what kind of people kill other people? Two, why do those kinds of people kill other people? Three, what are some of the causation factors that might cause people, especially young people, to want to kill other people? Four, are there any sorts of influences, conditioning, training, programming that have to do with it? Wait, maybe the bigger questions for this real conversation can be found by asking where such influences, conditioning, training, and programming might come from. Hollywood? Television programming? The gaming industry? The music industry? Maybe the evil, sick, perverted, demented psychopaths and criminals that own, operate, and control those industries should be brought to reckoning. Maybe they should be held accountable. I hereby cordially invite President Donald J. Trump, Governor Rick Scott, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and all of the governors of all of the states to watch the movie Hostel and ask themselves if they want their child watching that movie. Better yet, sit your child down to watch it. Would you dare? How many children and young people throughout our nation do you think have seen it? Watch several of the video games that are produced in realistic, lifelike 3D animation, wherein the player of the game may engage in drive-by shootings and public massacres. How many young children do you think have access to these games, let alone are being propped up in front of a television screen, staring aimlessly up into the lifelike games while their young, irresponsible parents engage in such meaningless, useless, and depraved so-called entertainment? Is that the best our nation can come up with and produce as entertainment for our children and youth? Let me go ahead and scroll this up. The depraved, corrupt, and outright evil influences that take hold of the minds of our young, impressionable, malleable, easily influenced, moldable children and youth is not only abhorrent, not acceptable to a decent mind, it is grossly abundant and easily accessible to them. Hostel is a 2005 American horror film written and directed by Eli Roth. It stars Jay Hernandez and was produced by Mike Fleece, Eli Roth, and Chris Briggs. Boaz Yakin, Scott Spiegel, and Quentin Tarantino are executive producers. Video games that mimic such movies always follow. And there are numerous video games that incorporate indecent, inhumane behaviors. The people that produce such evil smut for profits at the expense of our children and youth are the causation factors of declining mental health issues within our nation. They are criminals, and they are permitted to be free to destroy our nation from within. The tobacco industry is equally guilty as charged. Governor Rick Scott and President Donald J. Trump, do you really want to have a real conversation about mental health, violence, and/or gun control? Guns do not kill people. People kill people. Why? There is yet another issue that is intricately intertwined with this matter, which has most to do with the gun control aspect of this conversation. It should be sufficient merely to state guns do not kill people, people kill people, and to address the mental health aspects of this matter. Nonetheless, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube videos that do a very good job of conveying the notion that many, if not all, of these reported and alleged public shootings are false flag or hoax or staged events that are deliberately and strategically put on by the corrupt powers that be and by the local controlling authorities who are subject to the corrupt powers that be for the express purpose of creating anti-Second Amendment propaganda. While I must confess that I have experienced a heart-wrenching pain and sorrow at the first sight and hearing of every public shooting that has ever been broadcast and reported on television, as any decent, caring, empathetic person would, I have personally watched just about every YouTube video that has ever been made declaring various public shooting events to be false flag or hoax or staged events, and some of them are very convincing. Whether fortunately or unfortunately for me, I ended up coming across video footage from the alleged Las Vegas concert shooting that revealed with 100% certainty there were crisis actors present at that event. Whether or not that negates an actual shooting took place with real deaths is debatable. The point here being that many Americans, certainly most, if not all Americans, who claim to be patriots and support the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, scroll up. Certainly most, if not all Americans who claim to be patriots and support the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution have good reason to believe that there are forces at work who are endeavoring to abolish the Second Amendment. In fact, that is not a secret, nor is it a conspiracy. There are people, including congresspersons and senators, who publicly boast of their desire and willingness to eliminate the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. And if such people hold positions of power and authority, is it not reasonable to question how far they would go to achieve their objectives and agenda? Are false flag or hoax or staged events unreasonable to imagine? And if local authorities are not somehow controlled and bound by larger corrupt powers that be, whereby they are in on such false flag or hoax or staged events, is it possible for a public shooting that is a false flag or hoax or staged event to be pulled off in such a way as to fool local authorities, innocent bystanders, and witnesses? One can certainly make a strong argument for such. Thereby all the Second Amendment and gun control arguments that seek to abolish or limit the Second Amendment lose their credibility and possibility for implementation. There will always be people working hard to expose false flag or hoax or staged events, and most, if not all, American patriots and supporters of the Second Amendment will fight to defend the Second Amendment. In fact, the Second Amendment was not created so people can have guns to go hunting or to defend their household. The Second Amendment was created so that the American people would have the right to bear arms in a fight against a rising tyrannical government. Hence, the AR-15 and other automatic weapons are not only authorized and protected by the Second Amendment, they are necessary, they are required. Let's have a real conversation about these reported public shootings. In conclusion, support the Second Amendment. I do not believe in guns. I do not believe in killing. I do not believe in war. I do not believe in suffering. I do not believe in death. But I do believe in the Second Amendment and the right of the people to own, pick up, and bear arms of any and all sorts in order to defend themselves against a tyrannical government. I do not believe in guns. I do not believe in killing. I do not believe in war. I do not believe in suffering. I do not believe in death. But I live in a world wherein guns, killing, war, suffering, and death all exist. And I live within the only nation upon earth wherein the Second Amendment right to bear arms exists. I support the Second Amendment, and I support responsible gun ownership. That's a post that Facebook decided to call spam and block. Certainly YouTube may block this video too, so make it go viral. Get this video viral. Put this video on in front of the eyes and ears of every governor of every state, in front of the ears of the President of the United States. Donald J. Trump, you need to watch this video and take it to heart and do the right thing on behalf of the majority of the American people.